What fictional character do you feel bad for the most? I always felt bad for poor old Edward Scissorhands. His pop died before giving him real hands. Teddy from Westwood. Poor guy has been treated like by everyone. All the clone troopers. John Marston. John, his wife and his young son lived life on the run in an outlaw gang. It begins to tear itself apart under the pressure of Pinkerton detectives. Spoilers ahead. He's left for dead by the gang's leader, but John pulls through with the help of his dying friend. He sees a chance for his family to run and try to live straight. And they do. John takes up legal work as a ranch hand and a bounty hunter. He gets bank loans approved and now has the money to build a house and barn on a property of his own. John and his wife have the official wedding they never had. He had time to spend with his son and be the dad he never could be before. Life was good until the Pinkertons arrived. They held his wife and son captive. In exchange for their release, they make John hunt down the remaining gang members. One by one he does, finally taking down his old gang leader with help from the US Army. John rode back to his farm and family, his old outlaw days truly buried in the past. Weeks later the army soldiers in Pinkertons converged on John's farm and opened fire. It was now his turn. His family fought their way to their barn, and at John's request they escaped on horseback. John left the barn to face the men, and he was cut down in a hail of gunfire. Mace Hoos. R.I.P. Hoos. Wolf from Stranger Things. His childhood is ruined by traumatic events, and when he finally comes back his friends are too busy being in love to care. Ocarina of Time Link. Poor dude lived a tragedy. EIO. Depression sucks. Butters. This poor kid is always manipulated by his friends and grounded for everything. The brother and sister from the grave of the Fireflies. Rickety Cricket. The girl squirrel from the Sword in the Stone animated film. If you haven't seen it, the protagonist Arthur gets magically turned into a squirrel and a girl squirrel falls in love with him. When Arthur gets turned back into a human and leaves her all heartbroken and crying, it genuinely upset me. As a young kid it was one of my first experiences of feeling real pity, and it's stuck with me ever since. Tom Robinson from To Kill a Mockingbird. Squidward. The monster from Frankenstein, the novel. Greater than sign exclamation mark. The monster is born, and Frankenstein immediately runs away because he made him too ugly. That one lady who gets picked up by the pterodactyls in Jurassic World and then almost drowns before getting picked up again, only to be eaten by a mosasaurus. All she did was say her fiancé couldn't have a bachelor party. John Coffey from the Green Mile. The Squirrel in Ice Age. Poor fellow just wants his Akon. Sydney Prescott. She's had, what, 8 different serial killers after her? Pretty much everyone she's known or dated has been brutally murdered. And all because she did nothing. She did nothing to deserve a life of torment. Any citizen in the same city as a superhero. At some point, that has to get old. Honey, an evil villain is going to release toxic gas at 5 PM if Pickle Man doesn't surrender himself. Are the gas masks in the kitchen cabinet or in the RV? Edited to @ I legit pulled Pickleman out of my ass and didn't know it was a real thing. Sorry for the unintentional reference. Fermi. I always feel bad for him when I rewatch the LOTR trilogy for the umpteenth time, the extended edition to boot, which tells more of Fermi's story. The fish from SpongeBob who is always hurting his leg. Like, at this point it's not just a series of coincidences, it's a full-blown curse, as whenever his leg recovers it is injured almost immediately after. When will the final injury ensue, and he will be forced to amputate? Will we ever know? His life is a perpetual chain of events resulting in pain and suffering that cannot be stopped. Herschel Green in the Walking Dead comic. Lost his eldest kids to walkers, goes to the prison, youngest kids get beheaded, and then during the attack on the prison, his last son gets shot and killed as they are trying to escape. Gives up on life and begs to be killed. Exclamation mark. There are so many characters you could say the same for, but I'm currently rereading it, and his character is among the most tragic. Thomas from the Maze Runner series of novels. That kid is put through a ridiculous amount of emotional and physical trauma, only to have everything he's ever done be destroyed by *HIMSELF. Buffy Summers. After saving the world repeatedly, her mom died of a brain aneurysm, and the scene when she finds the body always makes me cry. Goofy. I'm sure anyone around 30 or so who has seen the Goofy movie understands exactly what I mean. Todd in the episode of Community where they divide into study groups. No offense. Jack's friend in Titanic. Imagine you sneak onto a world-class cruise with your best friend in the whole world, only for him to completely ignore you for a mediocre girl, only for you to die when the ship sinks. Kif. Goob from Meet the Robinsons. Why is everyone so mean to Charlie Brown? Also, Courage the Cowardly Dog had to put up with a lot of BS. Alucard from Castlevania. The little match girl. She is homeless, starving, freezing, and lonely, then she dies. Klaus from the Umbrella Academy. Literally gets kidnapped and tortured for like 2 days without any of his siblings noticing. Also brought up seeing dead people, which would obviously screw up any child. Was locked in a cemetery for hours, etc. No one really cared about him and just saw him as this stoner and couldn't see the whole time he's basically calling out for help. Also Dave. Really mostly any second born child of a royal family. Cause the first one, this is my heir, they shall inherit the throne. And the second one, it's like, oh, and this Bob. And then wonder why Bob is such a mess. Helga from Hey Arnold. The dude with the ice cream in Lilo and Stitch. Zuko. He turned out better for his experience, but that shouldn't have to have happened. Jess Pinkman. Woodhouse the butler from Archer. Treated like throughout the whole series by pretty much everyone. Missed out on his last chance to see his brother because of his asshole boss. Reduced to living in an empty pool. Used as an online prostitute. Then died off screen a penniless and unloved heroin addict. Neville Longbottom. His parents are alive, but were tortured into insanity by Bellatrix when he was a baby. He never mentions them, and there's only one scene in the books where Harry gets a proper glimpse into Neville's life during a visit to the street Mungo's hospital. Neville's parents are completely lost and don't even seem to recognize their son. I just find it incredibly poignant that what is ostensibly a comic relief character has such a tragic backstory, but in spite of that, in the face of deadly adversity, overcomes his fears and becomes a hero. The Ended Dragon. Imagine being the last of your kind and pregnant. Then some random dude comes to your home and slaughters you. Imagine being infinitely reborn by 4 crystals that were supposed to keep you alive, only to be slaughtered again and again, forever. Logan from Veronica Mars had one of the most absurdly terrible lives, and I'll be upset about it forever. I want to list details, but not sure what the statute of limitations is on spoilers, so just trust me on this. Edit. I learned how to do the spoiler tag. Also, thanks for commiserating, friends. It helps to share the pain. Seriously, even season 1 alone is enough to make his life heinously traumatic, and things do not improve. Greater than sign exclamation mark. His girlfriend cheats on him multiple times, including, but not solely, with his abusive father. Have you ever thought about the fact that Lily must have known about the abuse, who then murders her? His alcoholic mom kills herself. He is saved from suicide only by being beaten up and framed for murder, which many people will always believe he committed. His next girlfriend and the love of his life leaves him for his best friend, who later abandons him and leaves entirely. Yada yada, lots more angst. Finally has a chance at happiness, marries the love of his life, murdered before he can even go on the honeymoon. He got like one nice afternoon. I'm so mad thinking about it again. Exclamation mark. The Cabbage Cart Guy. Any character that loses their glasses, then while they are crawling on the ground looking for them, the glasses get broken. I have no idea why, but that moment always makes me feel worse than most other things. Luigi. Poor guy just wants to be treated as an equal to his brother, but he's always seen as player 2. Not right, not fair. Something that's always grinded my gears is how Hades is portrayed in books and movies. The only thing he's guilty of is doing his goddamn job. He only complained once, when Asclepius was bringing the dead back to life. He was a chill-ass uncle to Heracles, lent him his dog, and he was pretty fair to Orpheus. Only bad thing he did was conspire with Zeus to get Persephone, and even still he lets her go most of the year. Sirius Black. Maeve Willie from Sex Education. Her entire family abandoned her as a little kid and has had to rely on herself in order to survive ever since. Even after her mother returns, but is still on drugs, she sacrifices losing her family again so that her half-sister can be safe, only this time she's lost her mother for good. Exclamation mark. Celia Foot from The Help. She broke my heart